Ms. Juby.
I support their services as well. I have an education background, so I see that the easy targets are always kids and people who don't have a voice for themselves. And it's wrong. I don't know why we do it. I think it's because we can. But when we don't take care of those who can't take care of themselves, we become a society that is not a very pleasant place to be. And we need to find money. There's matching money out there in federal grants. Granted, it's not very much, but we need to make sure that people have access to that we educate them. We need to make sure that we give them every opportunity to be put in a group home in the beginning, where it's less costly in the short term and less costly in the long term. We need to respect them and treat them as individuals and give them as much as what they deserve. And we do that by funding these programs.
Mr. Rauschenberger.
I certainly support the work of AID. I was at their fundraiser, I think it was last Saturday night, at the country club down off of Randall Road in Geneva. I think maybe the questioner was getting at whether they could be trusted with the money, and I think that's one of the problems we have in Springfield today. The bureaucrats and the people in Springfield with the permanent jobs, the permanent part of government, are pretty slow on the draw in moving grant money out to the agencies. Rather than cutting grants, rather than cutting budgets, rather than cutting services provided directly to people with needs, they should take a hard look at whether they can thin down the Department of Human Services. After all, with a 7% raise this year and a 7% raise next year, a lot of those Springfield-based bureaucrats are the expensive part of the human service program, and they provide no direct care. Almost all of our direct care to the disabled are provided by agencies like AID, people on the front lines, where those workers are in many cases getting paid half or less than what the state bureaucrats who are making the budget decisions are. That's why you elect legislators, to put pressure on the agencies to make them deal fairly with the direct service providers in your district.
The next question goes to Ms. Juby. Do you have any system in the northern area for the voters to give you feedback?
Do I have any system? I usually give out my cell phone number, if that helps. The only experience I have with voters is from being on the Board of Education, and people know where I live. They know how to reach me. I have an email address. I don't have a problem being accountable to people who have questions. I answer questions from people that aren't even in my district because they don't understand how schools operate or how school boards operate. So I guess I'm naively answering it that if you want to contact me, I will be more than happy to give you a card with my phone number on it.
Mr. Rauschenberger.
I don't know how to contact her, but I'll get a card from her. I agree. I was pretty open with my phone number. My home number is listed as it has been for the 30 years that we've been married. You can look me up in the phone book. I'm active on internet. I've got a Facebook page. I'm happy to respond to mail. When I was in office, I used to run open office hours as an appropriations chairman, which was kind of unusual. 4 nights a week, anybody, if they would sit and wait, I would meet with anybody from anywhere in the state about their issues, because I thought it was important that people would get background and an understanding about the budget. So frequently we were in the office building pretty late. I've always run open office hours, happy to meet with people, and I was pretty aggressive in traveling around the state to meet with people who actually ran the program, so that I had a better sense of their needs and their challenges when we tried to figure out budget solution in the 1990s when our budget was balanced.
Mr. Noland.
Likewise, I think it's probably something else that we're going to agree on. We maintain a web presence as well. Of course, when I go to events like this, I'm always handing out cards and literature and things like that. So you have access. All you have to do is just to the internet is an amazing tool. Google is one of the most powerful tools known to man these days. Just simply put in our names, and I'm sure that you'll find us. So in that regard, always available. My door is always available. I'm always in the office. I'm a full-time legislator. I was an attorney before I took this job, but I can assure you that there's no long practice there now, though I maintain my license. But that said, of course, I have Rich Jacobs, who's in the audience, who serves as my very worthy assistant on the legislative side, who does an admirable job of getting back to constituents. I get an email, and I answer these emails in the wee hours of the night and the early morning, as soon as I get up, and the last thing oftentimes when I go to bed, making sure that we're addressing constituents' needs. Most of that is, of course, done over the internet, but we get calls and I answer the phone directly, and I'm available. I hope that folks, and I knock on doors, talk about being available. I spend most of my time, people ask me what I do for a living. Rather than tell them I'm a senator, I jokingly say I do a lot of walking. Like, well, what does that mean? I go door to door and I knock on doors to find out how people feel about the issues. It's the one way that I know that I can have the strongest voice, that I can have your voice down in Springfield, is to know how you feel about
Next question is for Mr. Rauschenberger. How do you feel about the immigration law enacted by the state of Arizona?
Well, again, on a 10th Amendment basis, the people in Arizona saw a real problem. Over 70% of the population in Arizona supported enactment of that law. For the Obama administration, rather than to dispatch people to work with Arizona and say, we're concerned about this, how can we work together to solve Arizona's problems, for them instead to dispatch Eric Holder, the Attorney General, and threaten them with a lawsuit for the President of the United States to entertain the President of Mexico in the Rose Garden while the President of Mexico criticized the democratically elected government of Arizona. You know, I think we've got a real balance problem here. I'm not sure that in the long run the Arizona solution works. I mean, they don't have either the resources or the background to manage immigration. But for people to react and blame a democratically elected state government for frustration with this administration, and for that administration to react with a lawsuit and basically inviting the President of Mexico to criticize a sovereign state, I'm stunned. So I think it bears studying. I think we need to take a hard look at what it means. But most of all, I think we need to be civil in our responses when people are frustrated in other regions of the country and feel that Washington's not getting the job done.
Mr. Noland.
You're running for state office, right? You're not running for federal office. Okay. Just want to make that clear, because it certainly sounds like a speech of somebody who's running for Congress, not for a state senate. And I make that point because I want you to understand that there are very limited things that we can do from a state standpoint. But we need to point out what those things are that we can do. You're asking, the question is, can we do here in Illinois what they did in Arizona? The answer is sure, if we're willing to suspend Fourth Amendment rights, I suppose. But I think the true answer, the better answer, if you're going to look towards the federal government, is not so much, again, kicking the dirt and complaining and pointing fingers at a president who actually pretty much just kind of stepped in your way on your way to the presidency. I think what you can do is you can talk about strengthening our borders, okay, and doing what we can to work with our federally elected officials to bring resources to come to bear on perhaps strengthening the border, like I say, to strengthening the fence physically, and then also bringing perhaps the National Guard to come to bear on protecting our borders as well.
Ms. Juby.
Well, we've all established it's a federal issue. I ask each and every one of you, who in here has proof that they are an American citizen on their person right now? But it's not everyone. And everyone in here, I'm sure, is an American citizen. And for me to determine if you are or are not by the way you look is wrong. And we need to find ways, if we're going to back that up, we need to find ways where it's not going to penalize a certain group of people. Because I know the only ID I carry is my driver's license. And some days when I'm late for school, I don't have that. And I would hate to happen to be a targeted group by my looks and have to prove that I was a citizen here when I am. And I think that we need to make sure that if the states want assistance or want help, they ask for it. But I think to do it the way they've done it, it puts the onus on the wrong person.